Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka M Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys the pilot episode of Limitless, the TV series. So, spoiler alert before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I shall be pretty much bearing all in this review, although technically, I guess probably for those of you who haven't seen the pilot yet and are watching this review to see if they should see it, I will say a few words at the very beginning of this before I get into logistics and details in spoilery territory. So, I will do that. Also, for those of you who are curious, at this point, I am not planning on doing weekly reviews of Gotham. I've got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm gonna have plenty of TV on my plate in due time. So, just to let you know. Now, let's talk Limitless. If you are coming to this review wondering, should I check this out? Of all the fall television series that are rolling around, whether it's return seasons or something new, is this one worth adding to my roster? You know, it's a valid question because there's a lot of fun crime dramas and thrillers out there on the market, and I have to admit that the reason why I chose to start watching this one in particular is not actually because I saw the, I believe it was the 2011 thriller, Limitless with Bradley Cooper. I never actually saw that movie. I totally thought that I had. But I realized that I just knew a lot about it, and I saw a lot of commercials for it, so I kind of convinced myself that I had, but I actually haven't, so I don't know if I'm 100% qualified to be talking about this show, but I don't think that you necessarily need to have seen the movie to understand what's going on here, because the pilot is packed with all the exposition, all the details that get you into this world, and I think that I understand what's going on. But the reason why I decided to start watching the show is because it is the first TV series, the first pilot featuring the one and only Jennifer Carpenter of Dexter that she has been in since Dexter. And in fact, I don't even know if she's done any film projects or other acting things since Dexter concluded. And I was so devastated to see her go, and, you know, with the way that everything ended in the Dexter finale, that I was very anxious to see her next project. And when I found out that she was going to be playing an FBI agent in this crime thriller drama series, I thought, okay, Deborah is coming back. Deborah Morgan is in the house. She got bumped up a notch apparently, but so that's my particular bias and the angle that I'm coming at this with. But as far as what I thought about the pilot itself, I think it was pretty dang good. It's a very familiar premise since a lot of movies have dealt with the idea of the brain's untapped potential, ranging, of course, from movies like Limitless, which from what I understand was pretty fun, pretty well received, to stuff like Lucy, which is a bit more loosey-goosey in terms of whether or not the global audiences appreciated that or not. And then even stuff like Transcendence and just a lot of movies that kind of crashed and burned, but tried to deal with this idea of consciousness, expanding the consciousness, expanding the brain, and that's essentially what you're dealing with here in Limitless. There is this little itty bitty pill called NZT, which takes your brain and makes it completely 100% efficient. So every synapse firing, every memory accessible instantaneously, that kind of thing. But I think that this show, provided that it doesn't get too far into the sort of pseudoscience aspect of it, I think will do well, honestly. Because that's not really what I want to get into and not why I want to watch this show. Like, not to see necessarily how they try to explain the way that this drug works, but really what it does to the world in which this drug is being used, what it does to people, what it does to relationships of power, friendships, families, societies, cultures, you know, like that's the stuff that really fascinates me, or the consequences of this drug, not necessarily so much how it acts, you know, or how it works, how it does what it does. So I think that if the show, I mean, it gets a little bit into the science of things, just ever so slightly, and it's kind of like, yeah, we've heard this stuff before, but I still think it's a really interesting premise to deal with. The characters are solid. It's got a good sense of humor and levity, a really quick pace to this pilot, which I think is good because they're really just setting up the universe, trying to get you to understand the way that these things work, to get you to understand the perspective of the user of the NDT drug and how it alters and enhances the consciousness and changes your perspective, changes the way you think. And again, this episode moves at a very brisk pace, but I think that it would be, you know, if it was more lethargic with the material, just wouldn't be as fun. It's very adventurous, you know, kind of got that Matrix-y sort of feel as you get into the expanded brain territory. But yeah, I would say that this is a fun pilot to watch. I don't necessarily know that I would go back and rewatch this episode because I think that we are on the cusp of a totally different sort of story with the rest of the season, at least hopefully. I mean, there are probably going to be some more crime procedural aspects, but I think that we're probably going to be able to get a really good, solid, serialized narrative out of this story. And we're presented with different layers of plot as well. So it's not necessarily going to, at least I hope it's not going to be just a crime of the week kind of thing, like a lot of crime shows get into, but maybe we'll have some more overarching season-wide plots or even multi-season plots if the show does well and proves that it's worth its weight in gold. So yeah, I'd say watch it. And now I'm going to talk about spoilery things and the characters and what most has me hooked so far. So, of course, we have our main character, Brian Finch, who is played by Jake McDorman. And this guy, he's down on his luck, musician, hasn't written a new song in a year, years, whatever time period, but he's in this relatively successful family. But he seemed to kind of be the weak link. He had a band around him, was touring locally, all that fell apart. And now he's kind of stuck looking for temp jobs and just scraping the bottom of the barrel for whatever he possibly can. And he feels kind of defunct and inefficient and just generally disenchanted with his life. I think something that a lot of us 20-somethings are going through in sort of the, you know, post-college, post-traditional schooling world of what the crap am I actually doing with my life? Wanting to pursue your passions, but then realizing that you lack the energy and the drive to do so, and to even succeed at the little fields that you've gone down, you know. So I think that it's a very relatable premise for a lot of people. There's nothing terribly crazy special about this dude, other than the fact that, well, you know, he's like us, and we're all special. So, Brian Finch. He's not got a lot going for him, and then his father has some mysterious disease that no doctor can diagnose. And it's right around the time that everything seems to be crashing down for him, and he's really losing his grip on the joys of life, that he gets into this temp job and encounters an old friend of his who is now a very successful investment banker and offers him a clean slate, a fresh start, in the form of this little translucent pill, which when he takes it gives him 12 hours of unlimited access to his brain. Good times, good times. And I'm not going to get too much into the logistics of that because, again, you just watch it. It's fun, whatever else. I mean, you guys know if you've seen the episode, so yada yada yada. I like Brian. I think he's a pretty okay dude. And it's interesting to see the things that he discovers and taps into with his super brain, and ultimately over the course of the single episode he is able to diagnose his father's illness, not using the internet but using a bunch of ancient books. Which I love books myself, so I mean, props to that guy, but it doesn't make a lot of sense with, you know, unless apparently when your brain is super efficient you can use whatever means of research you want to discover whatever you want. And he's using different connections from his past that he otherwise wouldn't be able to use because it's all so buried in long-term memories and whatever else. But Then, of course, there is the character of Rebecca Harris, Jennifer Carpenter, who, I mean, we haven't seen her do a ton yet, but we already kind of get to dig into her past and who she is as a person a bit, which is a lot like Deborah Morgan, actually. I'm not gonna lie, so I'm pretty psyched to see that, you know, Rebecca's kind of on par with one of my favorite female TV characters of all time, but I digress. They are different people, and I'm going to do my best to remember that as the show continues. But, yeah. So, Rebecca, FBI agent with a bit of a troubled past, ended up losing her parents and evidently losing her father, quite possibly, to the NZT drug, or maybe the NZT drug war that we sort of get into as the episode progresses. Yeah, the pilot presents us with a lot of different questions that it can unpack and maybe answer over time, like who invented the NZT drug, who are the key players, key distributors, what are the side effects, how do you avoid them, how does all this work, what is life, you know, there's a lot. This episode is essentially like an ogre, which is like an onion, which has layers. And I think that it opens up an opportunity for a lot of fun storytelling in the future and makes me believe that this could be really good. I don't know. I'm not really one to necessarily call it right off the bat. I'm just saying I like this. I like this episode. It didn't necessarily feel crazy novel and innovative, but I had a good time with it. It made me care about certain people and interested enough to see kind of where this is going to go. Because there's a lot of controversy revolving around the character of Brian, and we start to see that through Rebecca, too. Yeah, he's just kind of this average Joe Schmo, but here he is doing semi-heroic things, but then also semi-not-heroic things, trying to get his drug fix. But now he has a way via Senator Eddie Mora, which is Bradley Cooper's character from the original movie, who is sort of inviting him to be a part of his organization, to not tell the FBI anything, but to kind of work alongside him, and then he gets to reap the benefits of being able to limitlessly use the NZT drug and do amazing things for the universe. And then the FBI wants to use Brian with the NZT drug as an informant of sorts, which, you know, kind of, so somebody somewhere was writing about how, like, basically he gets to be a super Sherlock, which, you know, there's, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I think they can, like I said, it's not necessarily the most original stuff in the world, but I think that it has the opportunity to mature and adapt into its own thing. I'm open to that. But yeah. And so Rebecca is actually kind of the one who suggests that he serve the FBI as an informant, also gets him out of jail time for certain shenanigans revolving around the death of his friend who gave him the drug, and, you know, all those fun complications. Now, I forget the name of the captain, lieutenant, I don't know, whoever Rebecca's boss is. That lady is kind of tapped into the whole experimental medical realm of NZT and wants to know exactly how it is that this guy is able to use it as he does. And so there's a lot of conflict revolving around this relatively average guy who has suddenly had his universe exploded in every possible direction. And there is just so much that they could do with this show that I hope that they keep it focused in a really fascinating way, and that it isn't just like, what all, you know, how many flaming hoops can we throw this guy through, and how many ridiculously convoluted situations can we watch him unpack, you know? Hopefully, because, I mean, you're working with some pretty high-minded stuff when it comes to, like, the full potential and use of the brain and, you know, humanity and blah, 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 like, all of these really big things. I think that they have the chance to boil all of this down in a really tight and provoking and human kind of way. So something that I like about Rebecca and Brian's dynamic is that there's a lot of complexities between the two of them too. Even when we first meet Rebecca, when she's chasing Brian down in that subway and kind of their eyes lock, and there's something that immediately freezes her up and she can't fire, even though she has a clear shot. And it's because she recognizes something instantaneously in the eyeballs of Brian, the gleam that was in her father's eyes, and he was taking NCT too. So all of a sudden, Brian not only becomes an opportunity for her to learn more about her father, but who she already lost, of course, as we come to learn, but also sort of a chance to even redeem this guy. So it's like trying to use him, trying to save him. What the crap is this even going to look like for the two of them? I think that there could be a very fascinating dynamic in the future. I guess we'll see what kind of role Brian's family might play in things, but yeah, so there's a lot in play already, but this is just kind of the beginning. It's stage setting, universe building. Now we're kind of all in. Either you like the idea of what they could do with the show, or you don't. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But it was cool to get to see Bradley Cooper actually make an appearance in the show. And apparently he's also an executive producer too. So I guess we're going to see sort of what his creative vision looks like. I don't know that how much he's done in the TV world previously, but I think that this is all very cool. I've definitely been looking for, now that I'm in the post-Hannibal era, I really could use some kind of thrilling television to, I mean, there's nothing that can replace Hannibal. There's nothing that can replace that show for me, but I need something to distract myself in the grieving process, although right after that ended, I went to Italy and now I'm back. So anyway, this is a show where I dig the potential of it. There's not a ton that I can say at this point in time, other than the fact that I like where this started, and I like where it could go. I do, though, hope that not every episode moves so swiftly and with so much right-in-your-ear narration, because, I mean, Brian, he's a talker. He gets a lot of opportunities to talk, and you pretty much get to walk through a lot of his life story from the very get-go. And I guess I haven't really watched a show in a while where you meet the main character and all of a sudden have all this information about them. And it's distinctly possible that we'll get to unpack a lot more about him, but I think that we will too be learning a lot more about Rebecca, who's looking to get answers about her father and to sustain some kind of connection to a guy who, I don't know if it's like a daddy issue thing, I don't know. I still think that could be cool, and I love that Rebecca's character. She's very tough, she's very smart, she's very sharp, kind of on a razor's edge, you know, and that's my dad. So that just makes me happy. It resonates so much, and I need to stop talking about all the other shows. But yeah. And apparently there was a very exciting casting for, I think, the 5th episode of the show, which Jennifer Carpenter was excited about. So I think that there might be somebody from the Dexter cast who's going to join the show too. So all that to say, I think this is a good leaping off point. I enjoy sort of the color palette of things. It seems like the aesthetic of the show fits in pretty well with that of the movie. I don't really watch a lot of CBS shows, so I don't know, like, you know, how crazy different this show is from their shows, kind of aesthetic or visual quality or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of text overlays, a lot of graphics, a lot of stuff to kind of just, to really bring to life what's going on in the brain of an NZT user, to show just how crazy that experience is, and then how strange it feels to come down from that crazy high. Yeah, so I think that that's something that the show should have a lot of fun with. I mean, there was even a few weird scenes where when Bradley Cooper is talk about oh, shame on me. When Bradley Cooper's character is talking about the way that he relaxes and how using the power that he has through NCT, he is able to imagine what it was like to be in his mother's womb as a source of comfort and tranquility and peace. Words are really not working right now. I'm so sorry. But yeah, and then all of a sudden you get like the CGI baby that's like talking with Bradley Cooper's voice. And I mean, there's some of that stuff just feels a little hokey and weird. But I think it's cool. I think we have seen such an influx of beautiful and cinematic television in the past couple years. I mean, think even about like Daredevil, Netflix's Daredevil series. So beautiful, so gorgeous. Still nothing tops Hannibal, but I'm just saying. So I hope that the show continues to be lovely and vivacious and colorful and weird and eccentric. I mean, anything that sticks out from the norm and has a consistent visual identity, that makes me happy. It makes me happy. I want to see the show really kind of follow a vision and follow kind of like, yes, there's this infinite expanse of directions that they could go in, but I'm hoping that they will find a good narrative line and just really race down that track and take us for a whirl, you know? Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I want to talk about, but yeah, I enjoyed this a lot, and I'd love to know what you guys thought about it, so feel free to leave your thoughts and reactions and emotions and stuff like that in the comments. Yeah, if there's anything glaring that I happen to miss, bring it on up and we will chat down below. But yeah, at this point I do plan on continuing to watch the show. If there's a mid-season break or anything, you know, I'll kind of evaluate if I want to continue on with it. But yeah, looking to bring in some new shows and see what's going on. Got Fear the Walking Dead happening to The Walking Dead coming back. So many other things. So there's links in the description to that stuff. So thank you all for being such a lovely blessing in my life. And as always, I will be back before you know it.